Well, my utmost appreciation and thanks to SGI USA and to Danny Hall in particular for having me here today and giving me this wonderful opportunity to speak with all of you about something very near and dear to our hearts and to our lives, and that is peace. And I'm pleased to talk to you today about some of the grand and international aspects of creating peace between nations, but also at a personal level, what you can do as individuals to foster peace in the places that you live and that you work. But before turning to the theme of the day, which is that we are all connected, I want to first explain to you a little bit about my background and why this is such a passion for me and has been for most of my adult life. I came to the field of conflict resolution very young. I was in high school when I became a peer mediator, and I was asked to go into a room when students were on campus fighting and sit down with them to establish ground rules and talk about why so-and-so stole so-and-so's boyfriend. And, it seemed like this was a fairly easy line of work, and I enjoyed it. But quickly, what was somewhat amusing turned quite serious. The community that I grew up in, which was outside of Columbus, Ohio, had a high degree of conflict, particularly racial conflict between whites who were in the majority and blacks who were in the minority, and a whole host of others who had to find a place to fit in between. And the mayor at the time recognized that the community could not go on and that we needed to do something. So the peer mediators who were experienced at mediating high school disputes were suddenly asked to become mediators and facilitators in the community and to handle our parents and to handle adults and colleagues and professionals, all of whom had become a part of this very intense racial conflict. So we were, if you will, forged in the fire. But through that experience, it was so formative for me because from such an early age, I saw the power of people to change, the power that people have to make new choices and to make sure that tomorrow is somehow different from what they did yesterday and who they were today. And this change can be achieved through many means. And today I want to talk to you about just one of those means, which is through conflict resolution, also known as mediation, negotiation, etc. So when we turn on CNN, we might see Anderson Cooper, we might see other folks who are telling us what's going on in our world. And when we're faced with viewing international crisis, war, conflict, challenges, economic recession, we have a choice to make as a viewer. How will we respond to such negative crises? Will we retreat into the safety where we can find it? Or will we reach out to try to forge new networks and establish new ways to connect? Thank you. And I had this experience in August. I was with my husband in Germany, where my parents live, and we turned on the television to see that conflict had broken out in Russia and Georgia. But I was a little shocked because what I saw on the television was not quite what I was used to seeing in the United States. They showed death. They showed blood. They showed real trauma. And it occurred to me that here in this country, we are blessed with having the Atlantic on one side and the Pacific on the other, and it gives us a sense of security. And looking at CNN International in Germany, I saw, aha, that conflict is not on the other side of some great ocean. It's happening right over there. And it seems very real and very close. Distance in this way can allow us to separate from one another in the world. It can allow us to create boundaries that keep people apart based on ideals, based on beliefs, based on culture and tradition. Conflict resolution is all about looking at these boundaries critically and understanding when do we need them and when are they artificial. And it's not quite right that we're somehow disconnected, because we are connected. We live in the era of globalization. We have great global innovations, technology like the internet that can connect all of us to each other anywhere, anytime. But we also live in an era where resources and population growth demand that we treat our communities not just as the neighborhood and the street where we live, but we think broader about the impact that we have on each other, even when the each other is far, far away. And in America in particular, we have to pay particular attention to how we affect the world, because we have such a great effect on the world. One example, if we can look at how we buy, use, and waste a resource. So let's pick one. Think about water. Bottled water is very popular now. My grandfather used to laugh and say, in my day, if anyone would actually pay for a bottle of water, they would be nuts. But we do it because it's healthy for us and because we like to drink water. But if we think about where does that come from and how does it get to us, that one bottle that gives us quenching pleasure takes a lot of resources to make. The production of plastic itself takes a lot of resources and inputs, but it also emits pollution, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, and CO2. How does it get to us? It comes on a truck or by sea. There's your fossil fuel consumption. And then we drink, and then we throw away. In 2002, Americans used 14 billion bottles of water in 1 year, 90% of which were thrown away in the trash. Now you may be thinking, yes, I know, we're all guilty. But the question then becomes, knowledge can motivate change, but is it enough? And what does all of this have to do with international conflict anyway? And I'm about to share with you. So Ban Ki-moon, who is our UN Secretary General, has often said that in his estimation, climate change is the greatest threat facing the future. Because climate change is all about scarce resources, one of which is water. 1/3 of the world's population doesn't have enough access to safe drinking water. And so when we choose to use water in this way, we're making choices for other people about the resources that they can and can't use too. And this is just one of the very many cycles of influence that we have. Being in this country has great benefits and great privileges, and we should all be very proud. But it also comes with great responsibility. And so how does this impact international events that we see on CNN? Well, what we learn in the field of conflict resolution is that in order to solve something, you must first take a step back and truly understand what's going on, assess. And what are the root causes of what's going on? So we can take any of the world's conflicts. We can look at Rwanda and what happened there, the genocide. And we can look at recent events. We can look at Gaza. And it's easy for us, being far away, having distance, to come up in our own minds with what we think is going on. But how do we